Hey guys, this is Lala Legacy and welcome back to another episode of SeaBed. So, let's jump right back in. We are getting so close to finding out the truth here. Narasaki said nothing over that time, so I asked another question. So, if my senses are inverted right now, what about everything I'm sensing here? It's neither real nor a dream, correct? Narasaki gestured towards her surroundings. That's one more thing I need to explain about this place and where it actually is. Do you remember how we discussed the alternate world in your head when we were talking about the symptoms of your hallucinations? I remembered that event from the real world. It was something I discussed with Narasaki right after waking up from a nap in the rest area at the end of the corridor in Nanai's mansion. Was it when you said that all directions would be inverted? Yes, and this is that place. You're perceiving that alternate world right now. I tried understanding what she said, but only ended up with more questions. What kind of world was this supposed to be? Why did it exist in the first place? What was its purpose? Did it even have any? And why was I here right now? Confused by that endless stream of questions, I began to see the contours of my surroundings as increasingly blurry, or perhaps I was merely imagining things. Either way, after I blinked, everything had returned to normal. It must have been caused by the darkness around us. I glanced at Takako, still resting on my knees, then at my own arms cradling her. What is happening to me in the real world? Your condition is similar to being lightly hypnotized right now. It's actually a bit problematic to tell the truth. You've already experienced hypnosis before, so you could probably tell, but some of the memories inaccessible during normal sleep get unlocked in this condition. A professional usually guides you in the right direction while you're in that state, but right now you have no one guiding you. If you stay here for too long, your memories might get all over the place and won't return to their proper location. And without anyone guiding you, there's no one to wake you up either. Wouldn't someone just notice I was sleeping for too long and wake me up? As long as your consciousness is in here, you won't wake up no matter what they do. Then what am I supposed to do to come back? Relax. It's actually not that hard. For starters, you've got to draw your consciousness away from here. And the easiest way to do that is simply to sleep. It might be a bit uncomfortable in a place like this, but what can you do? Is there anything else? I'll carry you to your real bed so you can wake up in your usual place. I imagine Narasaki carrying me on her back. No one had done that to me since I was a child, so it felt a bit embarrassing. But I was asleep, so I probably wouldn't remember it anyways. That's all? Yup, said Narasaki. What happens if my memories can't return to their proper location? You said it was odd to see me and the young Takako together. If you stay in here for too long, it'll stop seeming that way to you. And it'll get harder and harder to remember reality. In the end, you might even start thinking of reality as the dream in this world as real. I tried imagining what it would mean to never return. This wasn't a dream, but a world inside my mind. It was different from sleeping, but at the same time very similar to it. A dream you cannot wake up from. If I stayed here too long, I wouldn't be able to come back. There were still many things that didn't make sense to me. This world was ambiguous and uncertain, almost like a fairy tale. Was it because half of my brain was asleep or something? Narasaki waited for my reaction with a gentle expression. It's okay. I know what's on your mind, I think. Your current condition is something akin to having been swallowed by a massive wave and being unable to tell up from down. Besides, your senses are dulled even further in a dark place like this. It's because of this place that I have trouble following this? Yes. Narasaki looked around the darkness. The lighter illuminated the walk wall surrounding us. The rocks and the darkness made complex patterns at the boundary of the light. I watched them until they turned into something akin to a kaleidoscope. I wonder how I ended up like this. I don't know the details. That's something I'd like to know myself. Narasaki turned to me. Takako was sleeping on my lap. I tried remembering the path I took to reach this place, but the cable car was the furthest my memories would go. Everything before that point was covered by a thick fog. Not that it mattered if I remembered the beginning. I doubted that the path I took in this world had much of a connection to the cause, which likely happened in reality. If you're looking for a clue, you shouldn't look for it within the dream. I thought as though she had read my mind, but she continued before I could say anything. Did Nanai say something to you? Nanai? An image of a person materialized in my mind. The new friend I made, she strongly reminded me of Takako. That's right, I was talking to her. I placed my arm on Takako's hair and tried remembering what happened. She said she wanted me to live with her in the mansion. Narasaki slowly nodded. When I said nothing else, she inhaled a breath and closed her eyes. That doesn't sound too bad. I suppose so. I stroked Takako's hair. I'm sorry for making you worry like this. Don't be. I'm the one who should have paid more attention to you. I heard a drop of water fall in the distance. Why did you go to such a dark cave anyway? I followed her. I gave Takako's head a pat, which made her lightly squirm in her sleep. This brings back memories. Yes, she'd always take me to odd places and we'd get lost. I've been meaning to ask, but why do you keep following her then? I don't know. I was afraid to let her go by herself, and I suppose I preferred spending time with her to being alone. I see. And I always scold her when that happens. We were just discussing that before you came. And what did you two extrapolate from this situation? If you go into a dark place following just your instincts, you'll get lost. That makes sense. I know a few words alone won't change her. Not to mention she was particularly reckless during this period. She's still little. She can't differentiate between do's and don'ts just yet. I had just realized something. When she was little, Takako might have actually been testing herself. I still wish she'd been more cautious, though. You were always the cautious one. You appeared calm and thoughtful, even though you didn't know much more than her. Was I really like that? Yeah. Most little children don't know much about the world, which is why they are always so curious about everything. They have yet to get hurt to know fear, which leads them to want to try all sorts of things. Takako slept with her mouth open against my chest, looking kind of foolish. Like trying on stilts that are too large only to lose your balance and crash into the ground? That's the kind of kid she was. Indeed. This is how kids learn about the world around them. She'll calm down eventually. Takako had always been interested in everything, no matter how old she got. I, on the other hand, had very few interests, like you've said before. Takako closed her mouth with a silly sound and began squirming on top of me again. I see. Perhaps I was just curious why Takako was so excited about everything. I looked down to see Takako's small hand on my chest. Her tiny chest rose up and down in sync with her breathing. I wonder where she was trying to take me this time. She didn't tell you? She said she was taking me home. But it doesn't feel like it was Takako's old house. Not the one I'm familiar with, anyway. I'm not sure if she was telling the truth, either. On the other end of the light, Narasaki stooped down a little and joined her hands on her knees, then separated them again a few times. It's true that Takako Sanatorium is there on the other end of this tunnel. Why do you know that? I used to work there, said Narasaki in a nonchalant tone, all the while fixing her eyes on me. I had many things I wanted to ask her, but they all disappeared from my mind before I could put them into words. My head just wouldn't function properly. Narasaki was the first to speak up. You want to be with her forever. I looked at her and shook my head. If you're worried, I imagine other people would be worried about me just the same. That's not a problem. If you want to remain here, I'll take care of the other side. What do you mean, take care? I'd inconvenience a lot of people if I just remain unconscious for the rest of my life. That's not as big of an issue as you think. If you simply dispel the state of hypnosis from your body, it won't be that different from the real you, even if your consciousness remains here. It'll be capable of everything you were. You just won't be conscious of it. How can it be like me if my consciousness is not there? People can survive without a consciousness just fine. Do you remember how you ate your dinner a week ago? What kind of clothes you wore? Your consciousness already doesn't register most of the things you do, nor do others. And even you, as the main consciousness, can't figure out how you ended up in this condition. You could switch out of a person with a hollow robot, and you wouldn't be able to tell the difference most of the time. Not unless you know that person extremely well. Narasaki continued as I fell silent. As such, you should just do what you want. Now that all the doors of your memories are open, you can return to any place you wish. You can attend school with Takako again. Narasaki considered the darkness to the right. The lighter illuminated the right half of Narasaki's cheeks. Then she shifted her gaze to the darkness behind me. If you go over there, you'll get to the sanatorium she currently resides at. School, huh? I enjoyed staying in the classroom after everyone had gone home to their clubs, just reading books on my own. Sometimes I could hear the lousy sounds of someone practicing the trumpet in the music room, or the racket of the boys playing football or baseball on the athletics field. I grew fond of that bustling but nonetheless calm atmosphere. I only realized that after I graduated and the time I spent alone increased. You can come back. Takako will be there too. The boisterous atmosphere I love possesses a sense of change. Everyone at school had goals and dreams. They changed and evolved to achieve them. Going back there with Takako would mean returning to a stagnant environment. She would be bored to death by it all. More than anything, she loves the new, the fresh. Perhaps you're right. Then how about over there? Her distant gaze returned to me. I don't know, but I still feel like it wouldn't be right. Both places exist only inside my mind, so there'd be little difference between them anyway. I realized Narasaki's eyes had narrowed, as though she was scrutinizing me. Then again, it could have also been just an illusion of the dim flickering light. No. That place alone is slightly different. It's designed so that Takako, who likes new things, wouldn't get bored. Narasaki closed her mouth. I looked up and saw only darkness. I couldn't make out the ceiling. I imagined the sanatorium Takako stayed at within that darkness. I learned that Takako's here, and that's good enough for me. If that's okay with you, I have nothing else to say, said Narasaki. Let's get out of here then, she added. There's something else I'd like to ask you. Okay, but asking something about Takako or myself would be fairly pointless. Why? You'll forget everything the moment you wake up. Are you going? Yeah, it's not like time on the other side has stopped. You wouldn't want to catch cold, would you? Narasaki stood up and patted her coat to see if it had dried up. It had, which didn't particularly surprise me. So, how do we leave? I'll walk out. You should just go to sleep if you start feeling drowsy. That's all I need to do? Yeah. I'll leave the lighter with you. Having stayed in this darkness for so long, it's possible your consciousness might melt away or something before you even get the chance to grow sleepy. Don't leave this area, okay? Okay. Narasaki nodded. I realized something by coming here. The reason I made up that story about Takako going missing, I probably couldn't acknowledge that Takako was no longer here. Why do you think that? I glanced at the tiny sleeping Takako. Because it hurts. A lot. I stroked Takako's hair. I see. Narasaki? I wanted to ask her what she thought of it, but quickly changed my mind. It's important what I think, isn't it? Yup. Well then, Narasaki turned towards the darkness. Are you going to be okay? It's no big deal. Narasaki smiled. Oh, okay. Is there anything else bothering you? No, I'm sure you'll be fine no matter what happens. I will. Don't you need any light? My eyes have gotten used to the dark by now. I see. Good night, and sweet dreams. Okay. Thanks. Narasaki waved me goodbye and disappeared into the darkness. Her footsteps grew distant until I could no longer hear them. The light seemed to have grown somewhat smaller compared to when Narasaki was here. Whew. Okay, that was heavy. That was deep shit, guys. Holy crap. Oh my gosh. Aww. Our voices might have grown too loud as Takako began slightly squirming on Sachiko's lap. Sachiko put her hand on Takako's head, making her calm down. Perhaps I was just curious why Takako was so excited about everything. I could see Takako's closed eyelids through Sachiko's hands. They relaxed for a second and seemed about to open, but closed tight again. Her ponytail cast a long shadow in the lighter's light. I felt my body grow heavy as I observed her. I could really go for a drink. Perhaps. I slowly stood up, feeling like a statue made of stone. I should be on my way. So how do we leave? I'll walk out. You should just go to sleep if you start feeling drowsy. That's all I need to do? Yeah. I'll leave the lighter with you. Having stayed in this darkness for so long, it's possible your consciousness might melt away or something before you even get the chance to grow sleepy. Don't leave this area, okay? Okay. Well then, I turned towards the darkness. Are you going to be okay? Sachiko asked. It's no big deal. Is there anything else bothering you? No, I'm sure you'll be fine no matter what happens. I will. Don't you need any light? My eyes have gotten used to the dark by now. I see. Good night, and sweet dreams. Thanks. I walked for a while, then glanced back. The light had turned into a vague orange dot in the distance. As I continued on, it began moving toward the left before completely disappearing, almost like the setting sun. From here on out, I'd be in complete darkness. The floor was the first thing that disappeared from my vision. I couldn't even tell if I was ascending or descending on a slope. I glanced down to realize I couldn't see my legs anymore. The darkness crawled up and up until I couldn't even see the tip of my nose. With my eyes completely unable to perceive it or to perceive light, I had no way of telling where I was. I strained my senses to try to feel for something, but all I managed to discern was the thick darkness pressing against my skin. The more I walked, the heavier it got. But that is all the time that I have for this episode, guys. So if you liked it, please give it a big thumbs up down below. And if you haven't already, subscribe. By subscribing, you're becoming part of a legacy. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye!